No one could have predicted what happened next. Just days after the world mourned the loss of Pope Francis, his sister broke her long-held silence, and what she revealed left even the most faithful Catholic stunned. Hidden truths, emotional memories, and a side of Pope Francis the world had never seen, until now. As tributes poured in from across the globe honoring the beloved leader of the Catholic Church, many believed they already knew all there was to know about him. But unexpectedly, Maria Elena Bergoglio, the Pope's only surviving sister, stepped forward. 4 years, she stayed out of the spotlight, rarely speaking to the media and keeping her private reflections guarded. But after her brother's passing, she felt compelled to open up. And what she shared was far more than touching. It was emotional, revealing, and at times, even controversial. In this video, we'll unpack Maria Elena's powerful revelations, including insights into Pope Francis' final days, deeply personal regrets, untold stories from their childhood in Argentina, and the heavy pressures he faced behind Vatican walls. We'll also explore how her tribute stirred reactions from the Church, shocked the public, and ignited conversations around the world. Stay with us, because the deeper we go, the more unexpected truths we uncover about Pope Francis, truths that challenge the carefully crafted image many had for years. And when you hear what Maria Elena confessed toward the end of her statement, you'll understand why the room fell into stunned silence. Let's dive in. For more than a decade, Maria Elena Bergoglio lived quietly in Argentina while her brother, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, became one of the most iconic figures in modern religious history. She avoided the media, declined interviews, and never sought to capitalize on her brother's global fame. But after Pope Francis' death at 88, everything changed. Maria Elena released a statement, raw, heartfelt, and completely unfiltered by the Vatican or official church channels. It wasn't polished. It was real. In her first televised remarks after his passing, she said, "To the world, he was the Pope. But to me, he was Jorge, my brother. The boy who would chase after dogs in our backyard, who made me laugh when I was sick, who wept the night our father died." She paused for a moment, then dropped a revelation that left reporters speechless. "I never wanted him to become Pope. It cost us more than the world will ever know." That single sentence sent shockwaves through everyone listening. What was Maria Elena hinting at? What had their family endured? And why had she stayed silent for so long? In the days that followed, journalists and devout followers alike scrambled for answers. What else had Maria Elena kept hidden all these years? And why, after decades of silence, was she speaking now? But this was just the beginning. What she would reveal next would make headlines worldwide, and it wasn't about Vatican politics or doctrinal debates. It was about something far deeper: family, sacrifice, and a painful truth that could reshape how we remember Pope Francis. Stay with me, because what comes next might change everything you thought you knew about him. Maria Elena wasn't simply speaking out of sorrow, she was speaking from a lifetime of memories. And as she opened up, the world caught a rare glimpse behind the guarded walls of the Vatican, reaching into the tender, often painful childhood of Jorge Mario Bergoglio, the boy who would one day wear the papal white. Growing up in Buenos Aires, Maria recalled Jorge as a quiet, deeply introspective child, yet fiercely protective of those he loved. Even back then, she shared, it felt like he was carrying a weight bigger than himself. But long before the church shaped him, it was someone else who left a profound mark on his soul, their grandmother, Rosa. Rosa was a woman of strong faith and even stronger convictions. According to Maria, it was Rosa who ignited in Jorge a fierce love for justice, compassion, and self-discipline. However, this story took a dramatic and unexpected turn. Maria revealed that during their childhood, a deep and devastating family trauma occurred, a betrayal not of faith, but of family ties. "There was an incident that broke us," she confessed, her voice heavy with emotion. And at the center of it was a painful secret. Their father had another family, hidden from public view for decades. Jorge learned of this betrayal when he was just 12 years old, and according to Maria, it shattered his innocence. From that point on, Jorge was never the same. He became consumed by an intense need for righteousness, perhaps, Maria suggested, as a way to cleanse not just his own soul, but the brokenness of those he loved most. And then came the most shocking revelation of all. Maria claimed Jorge didn't initially run to the church because of a divine calling. He ran because he was trying to escape the shame, she said solemnly. That confession rocked not just longtime followers of Pope Francis but also many inside the church itself. It recast the Pope's celebrated humility, compassion, and simplicity, suggesting that they weren't just virtues born of holiness, but also deeply personal acts of atonement for old family wounds. Maria's words pierced deeply, offering a new lens through which to view the life and leadership of Pope Francis. They suggested that behind the public image of the humble Pope was a man carrying scars, burdens that shaped every choice he made as a spiritual leader. And just when it seemed Maria had revealed it all, she hinted there was still more, secrets yet to be uncovered. "There's something I know that the Church would rather I never reveal." Those chilling words set the stage for what came next. So, what was it? Stay with me, because in the next few moments, we uncover a secret hidden deep within the Vatican, a secret Maria Elena claims her brother, Pope Francis, guarded until his dying breath. And what it contains could forever change the course of church history. After her initial revelation sent shockwaves through the Catholic world, Maria Elena agreed to one final, emotional interview, a conversation she almost didn't have. Her voice shook, not from sorrow, but from the heavy burden of what she was about to disclose. "For years," she said, she wrestled with whether the world was ready for the truth. Because this time, it wasn't just about Jorge, it was about secrets buried deep within the sacred halls of the Vatican. Secrets Pope Francis never intended to surface. "You have to understand," Maria began, her voice deliberate. "Jorge believed that some truths, if exposed too soon, could shatter the faith of millions, not because they were lies, but because they revealed a darker side people weren't prepared to see." According to Maria, her brother spent years compiling a hidden archive, a private collection of letters, documents, and voice recordings, during his time as Archbishop of Buenos Aires and later as Pope. This secret archive, whispered about in Vatican circles as Illinois Dossier Nascosto, the hidden file, remained locked away from even his most trusted advisors. But how did Maria know of its existence? She recounted that during his final trip to Argentina, just before ascending to the papacy, Jorge entrusted her with something unusual, a handwritten letter and a physical key, an actual key. He told her it opened a hidden vault deep beneath Vatican City. In his letter, he wrote cryptically, "If anything ever happens to me, and the world demands answers, tell them not to look at the gold and marble. Tell them to search where even the light hesitates to shine." And here's where the story takes a haunting turn. Maria honored his wishes. She never touched the letter, never used the key, until the morning Pope Francis passed away. When she finally opened it, what she found stunned her to the core. It was a personal confession, penned by Jorge himself. He revealed that he had uncovered alarming truths during his leadership, evidence of widespread financial corruption, high-level abuse cover-ups, and secret alliances between the Vatican and powerful authoritarian regimes. He hadn't listed specific names, Maria said, but the details left no doubt about the gravity of what he knew. Even more shocking? Maria explained that Pope Francis chose not to expose these dark realities, not out of fear for himself, and certainly not because he was complicit. Rather, he made a heart-wrenching decision, reform from within, quietly and carefully. Because he believed that if the full extent of the corruption were revealed, it might destroy the very institution he was sworn to protect. A decision born not of weakness, but of immense, painful responsibility. But according to Maria, Jorge lived with deep regret during his final years. He began to believe that perhaps the church needed to be completely shattered before it could be rebuilt with true honesty. "Maybe I was too soft," Maria recalled him whispering. "Maybe I should have been the Pope who exposed the lies, not shielded them." And here's where the story becomes even more unsettling. In the weeks leading up to his death, Jorge reportedly made plans to have his secret files released after he was gone. But according to Maria, something, or someone, blocked it. The hidden dossier, once safely stored in a secure location, mysteriously disappeared. Vatican officials now deny that it ever existed. No acknowledgement. No records. No trace. But Maria is certain. They know it's real, she said. And they're terrified of what it could reveal. And this leads to the burning question. What secrets were so dangerous that even a pope feared bringing them to light? The answer, Maria suggests, lies in a devastating truth, not just about politics within the Vatican, but about a moral failure Jorge considered his greatest sin. Stay tuned, because in the next section, we uncover a deathbed promise Pope Francis made, and why Maria believes the Church is fighting desperately to bury it forever. As the world watched the grand funeral procession of Pope Francis, few realized what had transpired in his final moments. According to Maria, in the dim, hushed atmosphere of his private quarters just days before his passing, Jorge's final hours were not filled with peace. They were filled with urgency. There was one final mission he desperately wanted to complete, one truth he couldn't bear to leave untold. Maria sat by his side, trying to offer comfort, telling him, "You've done more than anyone could have asked. You can rest now." But Jorge, pale, weak, and fighting for every breath, gripped her hand and whispered something that stunned her. "Promise me you'll tell them. Not just about the files, but about the children." "Children?" Maria was confused. But with what little strength he had left, Jorge murmured. "The ones who were never counted. The ones the church abandoned. The ones I couldn't save." Maria said it was the most vulnerable moment she had ever seen from her brother. In that instant, he wasn't the towering leader of 1 billion Catholics. He was simply a broken man, crushed by the weight of all he couldn't fix. She later explained that Jorge had been haunted for years by what he called the quiet tragedies, countless cases of abuse, neglect, and suffering that went undocumented and ignored because they happened in forgotten missions, struggling parishes, and remote regions the church deemed too dangerous or politically sensitive to intervene in. These weren't the scandals that made headlines. These were the hidden wounds, tragedies that no one ever spoke about, and that Jorge feared would never be brought into the lights. According to Maria, Jorge spent his final years weighed down by deep regret. He came to believe that perhaps the church needed to be torn down completely if it was ever going to be rebuilt in true integrity. "Maybe I was too soft," Maria remembered him admitting. "Maybe I should have been the Pope who exposed the truth, not the one who shielded it." And that's when the story takes an even darker turn. In the months leading up to his death, Jorge tried to ensure that his secret files would be released after he was gone. But, as Maria tells it, something, or someone, stopped that from happening. The dossier, once hidden safely in a secure location, vanished without a trace. Vatican officials now deny it ever existed. No records. No confirmation. Nothing. But Maria is convinced. "They know it's real," she insisted. "And they're terrified of what's inside." Which raises the chilling question. What truths were so explosive that even a pope hesitated to reveal them? According to Maria, the real answer lies not only in Vatican politics but in a deep, personal sense of failure, a burden Jorge considered his greatest sin. "I don't know how much longer they'll let me speak freely. But my hand still works. I'll write what my voice can no longer say." What he wrote left Maria shaken. One of the earliest entries begins ominously. "The wolves are circling. My silence is no longer peace, it is fear, dressed as obedience." From that moment on, the journal unfolds like a slow, painful descent, chronicling not just his physical decline, but his growing resistance against the forces trying to silence him. Jorge detailed secret meetings with senior cardinals who, according to his notes, pressured him to abandon his calls for accountability. He documented conversations where he was urged to prioritize church unity over seeking justice for the vulnerable. But Jorge was never the kind of man to turn his back on the defenseless. One haunting entry stands out. "To protect the institution by hiding the truth is to crucify Christ again. I have seen the eyes of the victims. I have heard their cries. And yet they ask me to stay silent. I was not made Pope to guard secrets. I was made Pope to serve God." Maria says her brother never intended for these words to be buried. In one of their final conversations, he made her promise. "Release them, when the time is right." And now, I understand what he meant. The truth always brings discomfort before it can bring healing. But here's the part that truly sends chills down the spine. The final entry in Jorge's journal was written just 3 days before his death. It's brief, almost a farewell, but also a warning. It says, "If this is my final breath, let it not be in vain. The shepherd must not fear the dark, for wolves howl loudest when they sense the dawn." Maria has not released the full journal, but she shared a few pages with select journalists. One of them, Italian investigative reporter Luca Morelli, described the writings as the most devastating portrayal of internal Vatican resistance he's ever come across. Morelli believes that, if authenticated, this journal would spark debates not just within the church, but across the global faith community. But the story takes an even darker turn. Maria claims there's more than just the journal in that wooden chest. She says Pope Francis left behind a sealed envelope, marked in case of betrayal. No one, not even Maria, knows what's inside, yet. She's been advised to hold off on opening it until she's certain it won't be destroyed or confiscated. Some speculate that it could contain audio recordings, private testimonies, or even a list of names involved in the power struggles Jorge alluded to in his journal. With Cardinal Matteo Tedesco now rising as a powerful figure in the church, the very man Jorge feared, Maria's decision has become even more agonizing. Should she risk everything to share what her brother left behind, or should she remain silent and preserve his image of dignity in death? But this is where the story takes its most heart-wrenching turn. Maria recently revealed that she's received messages from the families of abuse survivors pleading with her to release the journal. They believe Pope Francis may have documented things no one else had the courage to expose. They hope he may have named the names of priests, bishops, or even cardinals who have evaded accountability for their actions. For these families, the journal isn't just a historical document, it's a lifeline. So now, the question isn't whether Pope Francis was silenced. The real question is, will his words still have the power to speak louder than the silence he was forced into? What's your thought on this message? Let's have your opinion in the comments section. God bless you.